Hey, everybody.
How's it going? This week's episode is brought to you by us.
Us!
We're putting it up. We're promoting this. We're fronting everything.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
So actually, liking and subscribing on YouTube is free. All you need is an email address and about 5 minutes of your time. Also, if you're feeling generous, check out our Patreon. $3 a month gives you early access to every episode. $5 a month gets you that and our behind-the-scenes content. We really appreciate those of you who have already decided to do that. All those links are in the description below. We got a big episode this week.
Huge.
So we have Dr. Rambod Rouhbakhsh, Forest General, Hospital Family Medicine Residency Program, and Principal Investigator with Hattiesburg Clinic Medicine Clinical Research. So yeah, big guy. The Fauci of the South. I want to talk to him. I want to find out how he's doing. It's been a crazy couple of years. We also have Chili Cook-Off. We went on the scene.
On the scene.
We're there. We're going to show you everything that we experienced at the Chili Cook-Off at the Keg and Barrel. It was a good time, so I think we just need to get to it and start the show.
Let's go.
The hottest street boys, hottest street boys, hottest street boys. It's the hottest street boys.
Like and subscribe. All right, so first things first. Last week, Paul Ziegler, the gift card champion.
Yeah, he won a gift card from the Massive J giveaway.
Yeah, and J's in parentheses. Get it? Because it's massive giveaway.
But he thanked us, but he also posed a question.
Which we want more people to do, and we didn't even ask him to do that. So based on like our shooting schedule and when we got the video, we couldn't answer it. So we're sorry, Paul, but we're going to answer it now. He said...
But my question to y'all is, if you only had one breakfast for the rest of your life, are you going with Shipley's or are you going with Ward's?
Okay, so I've actually thought about how cool it would be for there to be like a Shipley's / Ward's restaurant, like a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. And that would be the ideal thing. Of course, it doesn't exist.
Right.
So me and my love, I got to go with Ward's.
Yeah.
You know, it's where it's at. Especially the one by the old mall. Everyone knows the one by the old mall. Yeah, those biscuits are amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to the fine folks at Ward's Restaurants. I do love Shipley's. I love a sweet treat, but Ward's has my heart, if you know what I mean.
I'm glad you answered Ward's because the streets would have run red with blood if you would have gone against Ward's.
You think so?
Yes.
Well,
there would have been people with pitchforks and torches, and so I'm really glad for all of our safety and just the welfare of the city. I'm glad you said Ward's.
Well,
I would have to go Shipley's because I'm really into sweets and donuts right now. And I'm into gluten, bro.
You are?
Call me Drew Gluten, dude. I'm not Wooton. Drew Gluten, man. So actually I've been going to Grin and getting my scone every morning.
You're getting your scone.
But I got a muffin, and the blueberry muffin is the best muffin I've ever had in my entire life, and I'm not being dramatic. I'm just saying it's legit, and I was corrected. I thought there was gluten in it. Their blueberry muffins are gluten-free.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. Like, how is that even possible? Because it's delicious. And
I wanted to tell you. I got over to Grin on Saturday morning to get my ice cream for breakfast, maybe a little affogato, but also I had a biscuit, and it was so good. Yeah. They're the things that they're baking up over there.
Man, they're killing it.
They're doing great.
Bro, single-handedly just putting Broadway Drive on their shoulder.
Yeah, I was very happy to see them open on a Saturday. They're not usually open. It's just kind of a special occasion, so it kind of like set the day in motion.
Yeah,
you know?
man. That's awesome. And then we went and ate at Crescent City Grill, Midtown. We're big Midtown guys. Everybody knows it. You know it. You know it.
Yeah. Huge Midtown guy.
And I never get this, but I got the CCG mixed grill.
The mixed grill.
It's like fish, it's catch of the day, chicken, skirt steak, the 30-day aged skirt steak, and it comes out on this huge like platter that's still cooking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the science of it, but it's
I wonder if it's that Onofre thing, the big metal.
Yeah. It's got a handle.
It's almost like a small chafing dish for your table.
Dude, it's like the pageantry.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then it's enough food for, it's not just that meal. If you can eat, actually, they should do a challenge. See if somebody can eat. If you can clean your plate, happy plate, on the CCG mixed grill, bro, you're a legend. You're probably a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, dude, that was cool. Always love having an old fashioned.
Yeah.
Went up to the
over
hog
there.
and said hey to Luke. I always like seeing
yeah.
Luke. He's a real cool dude. Everybody who works there is very. It's fun, man. You kind of It's fun when you know people and you know, not like we're friends. We're friends, but it's like,
Oh, we're friends.
We're friends. I don't want to overstep, but the familiarity is nice.
Yeah, I like getting over to Crescent City Grill, just the feel. It's something about just walking in those doors, you know. You grab the alligator by the mouth, and you just open that door. You let somebody else in because usually, you know, I'm always trying to let people in and out.
They're very busy.
I'm very much a doorman over there, but, you know, you got to be considerate.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
good.
I love the feel. You go in, the tile, everything. Beautiful. I love it.
It's a good time.
Food's good, everything.
And then I think highlight of the weekend really was chili cook-off.
Chili cook-off, man.
Ooh.
One of my favorite days of the year. Everyone knows that.
Yes.
I don't have to, you know, express that too much. But, yes, I love it. And there's gumbo. If you like gumbo, gumbo's always – there's not as many entries in the gumbo portion. It probably, you know – but it was great food, man.
Yeah.
Chili and gumbo at the Keg and Barrel.
Yeah, special shout out to Wooton, Brad Dufresne's team
Wooton
of
clan.
Man, that was. I mean, I have no say so in who wins, but that was my favorite gumbo for sure. And there was a story behind their chili, like the guy in the group like shot a hog. It was his first hog, and so some of the ingredients, like the guy knows exactly where it came from. It was pretty cool, man. But it was cool to sit down and talk to people, and yeah, we got to do our first ever like man on the street duo thing
on the scene.
Yeah, so
coming through, if you will.
I really had a good time, and I think everybody else had a good time. Chili cook-off's always insane. So I think instead of us just telling you about it, why don't we show you our first Man on the Street episode, behind the scenes, everything you want to know about Chili Cook-Off 2022.
Take it away, us.
We're the Hardy Street Boys.
What's up, everybody? Massive J, Drew.
We're at Keg and Barrel.
It's the Chili Cook-Off
2022.
and Gumbo.
Yes, and you're a judge.
I'm going to judge it.
And I'm just going to ride on your coattails and try and get free food because people don't really ask me to do that kind of stuff because you're just more likable, Jamie. And we're not going to talk about it too much. Let's go talk to some of the competitors and try some free food. You ready?
Let's go!
Hardest Street Boys, Hardest Street Boys, the Hardest Street Boys, the Hardest Street Boys, the Hardest Street Boys, Hardest Street Boys, Hardest Street Boys, it's the Hardest Street Boys.
What's up? I'm joined by Kobe Palmer of Community Bank and their team. Kobe, what is one of y'all's secret ingredients today?
Well, that would be Michelob Ultra.
Mick Ultra, you say?
It's a fan favorite. It's the fan favorite.
Fan favorite. You hear it first. How many times have y'all done the Chili Cook-Off here?
This year will be the second year.
If somebody wanted to get into financial planning, what would be your best advice?
Well, my best advice would first be contacting us at Community Bank. We got locations all over the Pine Belt, so attend if you're here, or just look up any community bank or go to communitybank.com. Strategy team will be more than happy to reach out to you and take care of the needs that you might have.
Just kidding. I don't care about that. I just care about chili.
Perfect. Good job. You're already a star. All right, here with Stephen Worrell of Smoking Bulls. Stephen, what's your secret ingredient?
Smoked pork.
You actually told us your secret ingredient.
Yeah, man. Well, you got to do it right to make it, good.
That's pure confidence because we had a lot of people didn't want to tell us because they're afraid that people will copy them.
They can try, There's only one green egg guy here, so.
Heck yeah. Hey, what's your favorite part about the Chili Cook-Off?
Cheese.
Cheese?
You like cheese on everything, don't you?
He likes cheese, and their secret ingredient.
Everyone knows it.
You know it. How long have you been doing the Chili Cook-Off? Like, how many years?
I think this is our 6th year.
Have you placed before? Like, what's your best result so far?
I think I'm always 4th, but I've gotten People's Choice a few times. So, JB, my brother, only got 2nd place, but I'm looking to get on the board here.
The People's Choice is what really matters.
I mean, it is a global opinion, so.
That's a true democracy.
That's right.
I'm joined now by my neighbor dad, Brian Saffel. Brian, what y'all got going on over here?
Jamie, we're cooking some chicken.
No.
Fried chicken? No, that's a chili cook-off, my bad. We're doing chili today. We got a ground chuck roast, sausage, smoked sausage, bacon. Man, it's really good.
What's your secret ingredient?
I can't tell you because it's a secret. Sorry.
How many years have y'all been competing in this?
Gumbo, we've done about 7 years. Chili, we've done 3.
Anything you want to plug today?
The Hardy Street Boys, do you know those guys? Yeah, they're around town, man. Pretty cool dudes.
Neighbor Dad said it. You better put some spec on our name. Hardy Street Boys.
All right, here with Brad Dufresne, Rootang. What's your secret ingredient?
First of all, Rootangs for the kids. Secret ingredient is the homemade hot sauce that comes from my garden.
Heck yeah. You like your chances today?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about. And I want one of these hoodies.
You got it, brother. Take care, y'all.
All right, I'm here with two judges. What are you looking for in a good chili?
Taste. Color.
Taste and color. What else? Smell, maybe?
Oh, yeah, obviously bite, aroma, consistency, all the key variables, but for sure. Taste. I mean, it's got to taste good, right?
What are your thoughts on mouthfeel?
I like it warm.
That's what she said.
Wait, this is an internet channel, right?
This is internet.
Well, then we can do whatever we want. You ain't got to cut it out.
There's no rule.
Ain't no laws.
Ain't no
When you're on
laws.
them-
Nope, no laws.
Unrelated to chili, has anyone told you have a luxurious beard, sir?
They have. Thank you very much. For all you ladies out there, I'm single.
For the ladies, he's single and he's ready to mingle and he's got the thickest white beard of all time. Who dat, baby? Jim Thompson for head coach next year.
I wish, baby.
Bro, you got it. All right, I'm here with Sean, the barman, one of the best bartenders of all time. What's your secret ingredient in your award-winning cocktail from the bourbon celebration?
Bourbon. Other than that, I ain't gonna tell you.
Like, there's no process you can make us privy to?
No.
Fair enough, man. You having a good time at Chili Cook-Off?
Always, man. That's our best event of the year. We all have a good time packing it out. So, be a good day.
Bro, this is going to be a solid day. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Drew.
Like us just talking with a microphone and a laptop, this is at the Keg and Barrel. This is bizarre, right?
Yeah, totally.
So what's your official title?
I'm the judges coordinator.
What does a judges coordinator do?
I'll line up the judges, prepare a scoring graph, give all of our judges lanyards, instructions, and scoring cards for them to fairly judge the entries for the day. And I can tell you more about how the judging works if you want, but it's basically a lot of tabulations throughout the afternoon while everybody else is whooping it up.
Yeah, so our friend Grant said that 1 is low and 10 is high. Can you elaborate on that?
Our scoring works in a scoring system 1 to 10 with no decimal points.
Decimal points.
And Grant wrote himself a reminder on his scorecard that says 1 equals low and 10 equals high.
Yeah, just so you know. But we're also, what are we judging on? Do you want to give the categories of what we judge on?
Sure. Traditional chili, which means no beans.
No beans.
Non-traditional chili, which is anything goes. Gumbo. And then we do 3 top spots for those 3 categories, and then there's People's Choice. All of the event goers can vote on. Mm-hmm.
And the categories on which those scores are based on.
So for each entry, they are either judged at their table on site, or a blind judging,
or blind
upstairs away from the
chaos.
Yeah, and the chaos, right? So they're judging on the categories of color, aroma, taste, consistency, and bite. Like aftertaste, or how does it linger in the palate once you've had it? Yeah, la 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 la.
How important is mouthfeel at this competition? Because I've asked a lot of people, and it's just a fun thing to say.
Mouthfeel? Well, you do have to use your mouth all day long.
And we all have feelings.
We have big feelings about our mouth feels. Yeah.
All right, so let's share the winners. They're going up on the screen. You see that one? Oh, that one, I did not think he was going to do that well.
The screen?
Yeah, maybe. And actually, it's even funnier if I don't put this in post.
Oh.
Do you see that? And just look at this thing that I was too lazy to put in.
Cool. Wow.
Well, you work so hard, Allison. Thanks for taking the time to sit with us. And I think it's time to go back to the studio with also us.
Yes, back to us.
Woo!
You're the best. Thanks. Wow, that was us. And
what a day.
That was the Keg. And, man, Allison was such a good sport, explaining how the judges work. And, it's one of those fun things that you don't realize, like, somebody's working hard to make that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah.
And I really like how upfront and forthcoming John Neal was.
Oh, yeah. I also want to give a shout-out to my cuz, Amy Massengale.
Mhm.
10 years working at the Keg.
Oh, yeah.
Putting up with all those folks. So kudos to that lady.
That's an accomplishment. Congratulations, Amy.
Yeah.
Now we have Dr. Rambod Rouhbakhsh, right? He's an expert. This dude has way more letters behind his last name than either of us.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get him on because I want to learn, but I also want to check in, man, because this dude has to have been stressed out the last couple of years with COVID and being in charge of like vaccine trials and research. And I mean, everybody if you see a doctor or someone in the medical field, just like maybe give them a hug or like a nod, you know, socially distanced hug.
One of those things. A little tap like, yeah, lots of respect.
Yeah, man, so much respect. So I want to get him in here, really find out how he's doing, and then play a little game with him a little bit later. So let's go ahead and get him on, Dr. Rambod Rouhbakhsh. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, so we have Dr. Rambod Rouhbakhsh with us today. How are you today, sir?
Doing great.
Man, really excited to have you here. It's been a tough past couple of years for just all of humanity, so I really just want to check in and ask how you're doing.
I feel great. I'm fortunate enough to be healthy. I haven't gotten COVID. Vaccines came on board. I got boosted through the Omicron, so I'm good. I'm grateful. I'm happy. I see some light at the end of the tunnel. I'm good.
Yeah. So light at the end of the tunnel, what does that look like? Because it does feel like I like that we're able to be here. You know, we're all vaccinated and healthy, thank God. What's the end of that tunnel kind of look like?
So we'll live with this. So this whole thing came about because we have a brand new virus that never before infected humans. So this is what you call a zoonotic virus. They used to live in another species, in this case a bat or some kind of animal derivative, and then it jumped to be able to infect us. Whenever you have that, that's going to be a bad infection for the humans. In this particular case, because it's hung on long enough, it's mutated long enough, it's got as many variants as it does, it's going to be a part of us forever. It's just a question of how many casualties we have along the way until we get to that steady state. Because these coronaviruses have caused regular old colds. About 25% of the colds we get have been from some derivative of the coronavirus. The big change is that this is the third known zoonotic coronavirus. The first one was in 2003. This was the SARS epidemic that you heard about. And that was basically China and, weirdly enough, in Canada. So somebody traveled, infected Canada, but that first mutation, that first zoonotic infection was severe enough that everybody that got it got severely ill. They were hospitalized. So in a weird way, that was advantageous because you can quarantine them and identify them. About 10 years later, in 2012, we had another coronavirus zoonotic outbreak. That was the MERS, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. And that was a bad one too. And that reservoir was camels. So people on the Arabian Peninsula got it. And when the camels gave it to their human interactors, those people got so sick that almost all of them wound up dying. And if they didn't die, that virus wasn't able to reside in humans to be passed to other humans. So that was only a camel-human interaction. So that pretty much died off in the Arabian Peninsula. Fast forward to 2019, our third zoonotic coronavirus infection. This one kind of hit the sweet spot where about half the people that got it didn't even know they had it. So they were able to spread it. The other people that got it got sick. The vast majority of them didn't die, but a sizable proportion of them did die, got super sick. And so it was able to spread throughout the world before we even really knew what was going on.
Well, and I guess that's what makes it kind of the perfect enemy, is that it's... And I think especially when you talk about like educating people about it and the it's like all people want to debate about is like how serious it is, what they should do in response. It's really hard to convince people, like if this was Ebola and if you caught it, like you bled out of your eyes, I think the conversation would be very different. But because so many people caught it and like, well, I was fine, it's really hard to believe someone else's strife when you're not experiencing it, you know? So like what do you do? Like, it's not like we don't have information out there. Like, as someone who's just living through it and not an expert, it does kind of feel like, what do you do? Like, what's the best course of action?
Yeah, one of the things I've learned in the past 2.5 years or so is education is necessary, but it's not sufficient. So it's not enough to tell people some facts. It's hard to get people to weigh risk appropriately. We don't do a good job of analyzing that in our minds. We don't do a good job with statistics, especially as they get bigger. And so it comes down to having knowledge, then also trusting the resource from which you get that knowledge, and then maybe saying, okay, we're going to do something collectively that's for our good as opposed to individual-based decision. Because the truth is, 99.4% of the people that get this illness will not die from it.
Right.
So why even worry about it? Well, I mean, 0.6 is a high number,
Yeah.
to have fatalities. Moreover, if we buy some time as a collective unit and figure out some vaccines, figure out how we can work our way around it, we won't have as much what we would call morbidity. So as opposed to mortality, death, you don't have as much illness. You don't have as much time lost from work. You don't have as much maybe long-term things. So those things somewhat get hard to discuss. And then in our culture where we're super independent, I mean, this is why our ancestors, my parents, became Americans, is that independence, that freedom. And to want to constrict that, you really have to have a good reason for it. And then also you have maybe people that don't trust the resource from which it comes. So we have some cultural things, I think, to work through. I think we're going to get another chance, unfortunately. If this goes as it has, we may have another coronavirus zoonotic outbreak 10 years from now. So unfortunately, we'll get another run on it. I'm hopeful we'll do better next time.
Right. Yeah. And as an individual, somebody just watching this by themselves, what's something they can do to better prevent against this illness? Because education, you can only educate people so much until they feel like they're being talked down to, especially from experts. I think that's what gets, like, for me, it's like, just listen to an expert. What's the problem? But there's a lot of people who are like, why should I listen to that person? So it's like an interpersonal thing. It's not even about the information or the situation. So that is what it is. But as an individual, what can I do to make myself not impervious, but at least more resistant to anything, like not just COVID, but just illness in general?
Well, that's a big question. So if you were going to pick one thing to work on to improve your overall health, your overall defense, if you will, against all things infectious disease, I would say the best marker of your overall health is how you sleep. The quantity and quality of your sleep is my number one rule of thumb, heuristic, if you will, to assess how a life is managed and what else is going on in that life. So there's a lot more complicated things associated with that. But if I was going to pick one thing that I would want people to work on is maximizing their sleep. In order to do that, there's a bunch of other things associated with that. You got to get some exercise, you got to eat right, you got to avoid certain things at certain times. But if you're sleeping well and have good quality and quantity, you're probably a pretty healthy person.
Right. Well, I consider myself healthy, but my sleep hygiene is awful. I have a TV in my bedroom. I've also heard, like, you're only supposed to be in your bed if you're sleeping, to, like, train your brain to realize, like, bed is for sleep only. Yeah. So that I spend a lot of time, like, up watching Netflix and stuff. So that's something, too, over the last 2 years, really started thinking about. Supplements, too. We actually had Michelle Scoggin from Freedom Pharmacy on last week. We're talking about, like, zinc and all that. Is that something that's, like, important for people to stay on top of, or?
So this is going to be a bit controversial, but I'd have to say no.
Okay.
If you're going to have a simple answer to that. Supplements are complicated. The unregulated, non-FDA tested supplements that are available out there have a lot of potential manifestations. And whenever you hear us in medicine, or really any other walk of life, talk about things that are complicated, and we're talking about biologic things, that's code for we don't really understand it all that well. Because the things we do understand pretty well, they're simple, and anybody can understand those, like the difference between a bacteria and a virus and an antibiotic and an antiviral. Pretty simple because we figured that out a little bit.
Yeah.
The cascade of events that occur when you supplement with a pro-hormone, like vitamin D is a good example. It's really a hormone. It's not a vitamin, quote unquote. There's a cascade of events that occur with supplementation that we don't quite understand all that well. We've had a ton of studies done on vitamin D, and for whatever reason, we don't seem to be able to supplement people with vitamin D and have good health outcomes. Whereas when we do what's called observational studies, we see that people with good vitamin D levels have better health outcomes. So there's something else going on there that we haven't quite captured in a pill or a laboratory setting. Some people theorize it has to do with how vitamin D is generated, which is going outside and getting sunshine. So that may be a marker for people that are generally more healthy. Some people theorize there could be a cofactor like vitamin K2 that we also need to supplement. We don't know. And the moral of the story is when it's complicated, it's because we don't understand it. So if you're going to do something, I would recommend doing the things that we know are good for you and have zero side effects.
Right.
You need to have your blood levels monitored. You need to speak with someone who knows what they're talking about in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I think what really gets, and I think the overarching theme of like COVID is what we don't know really scares us. Like during COVID, people started talking about like UFOs. I'm real big into that, right? But it's scary because I don't understand it, and it's very hard for people to admit that they don't know something or that they don't understand it. And I just hope people have patience with the medical establishment when you're trying to figure these kinds of things out, because you're trying to say, like, if we don't know how this works or it's complicated, there's at least a fervent debate over it, which is healthy, right? And I want to be able to tell you what to do. I want to know for sure before I tell you to go do something. Not like, yeah, it's probably all right. Go ahead, And I respect that. I think that's a good thing,
Yeah, absolutely. So the things that we don't know much about but have little in the way of side effects, yeah, give them a go.
Yeah.
But some of these things have some side effects. Really, any medicine, even once it gets FDA approval, it's really something that has slightly more benefits than the costs associated with the side effects. You can take anything, whether it's a supplement or a medicine, and there's going to be some side effects associated with it. If you drink too much water, there's going to be some side effects associated with it. So it's just a question where that balance is. So be careful.
Right.
Caveat emptor.
Right.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, man, this is so cool. What's really cool too is I noticed your Southern States jacket. You're one of the most fashionable people in the Hattiesburg area, and I want to know where I can get one of those jackets. But I got to say, I had so much fun going to see games at Southern States. How did you, like, shifting from medicine for a bit, how did you get involved with Southern States, and what do people need to know about that?
So it's a great question. It's one of the things I'm most grateful for. So, I'm from Portland, Oregon, and there are many reasons why I have moved to Mississippi and stayed in Mississippi, but a big part of it is Southern State soccer. It is unbelievably unique for American soccer. So my journey there is my oldest son, Mateo. We were living in Laurel, and he was at that age cutoff that there wasn't a lot of players his age that we could form a team with, and he was playing up in age. And when the cutoff came that we couldn't find a team for him, we came down to Hattiesburg. And he tried out for HFC, and Southern States was the first year, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't go to the HFC tryout with him. I did go to the Southern States, but they were talking to us. I didn't even see it. So he finished up with both of them and was told he made the teams. I'm like, what are you going to choose? He's like, oh, Southern States. I'm like, they just said this is the first year. They may not have enough players for a team in your age group. And he's like, Dad, you don't understand. And I was his coach previous to that. He's like, this is different. So I'm like, all right. He's, 8, 9 years old at the time. I'm like, all right, we're going to roll with it. And sure enough, the difference, and this is not to disparage any other things. I mean, we are soccer rich in Hattiesburg.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is William Carey, Nigel Bolton, bringing in all the European players and making this a soccer culture. And all of those players who became coaches in our area. This is a soccer hotbed, especially in the state of Mississippi. So we have excellent soccer. And one of those derivatives is Carl Reynolds, who was a William Carey player with Nigel. And he and Nigel really had a dream of starting a European-style academy, and I didn't even understand what this meant. The real issue in terms of our competitiveness in America compared to the rest of the world is the way our sports are structured at the professional level. In Europe, and really the rest of the world, sports are cutthroat capitalists. If you're a kid growing up in London, you have like 24 neighborhood professional teams that you can choose to be trained in. And these professional clubs have a monetary interest in one thing only, and that's developing talent. That does two things for them. Either they get a homegrown player that's cheap for them that helps them win, and if they win, they get promoted. If they lose, they get relegated. That's real money. And if they really develop a star, they sell that player for hundreds of millions of dollars potentially.
Yeah.
So there's real economic incentive to take a 6-year-old to make him a great 18-year-old. And so they invest in that training. In America, our professional sports are the opposite of capitalism. It's really pretty ironic because these countries that are socialists are totally capitalist when it comes to sports. We are really capitalist with everything, but our sports are straight up socialist, borderline communist.
They are.
Where you share revenue. It doesn't matter how good you do, how many fans you got, how much merch you sell. It's spread evenly across the teams. And then if you do poorly, you get rewarded with getting the top pick.
Makes no sense.
It's really geared towards keeping the owners equally rich, as opposed to drilling down and really developing players. So if you're going to be an NFL player, if you're lucky enough to live in a place that has a good Pee-wee league and maybe a good high school coach, and maybe you're a freak of nature, you progress along. But there's no drilling down from the Dallas Cowboys to the Dallas-Fort Worth area to develop these talents. And what I think we're going to start seeing as we start competing more globally in like a sport like basketball, you're seeing more and more Europeans. You're seeing more and more South Americans. There's the Antetokounmpo brothers. You know, there was the Ginobilis back in the day, the Nowitzkis, the French connection, you know, the Terry Parkers, Nicolas Batum. Those players are becoming more and more the Gasol brothers because they train in basketball the same way they train in soccer. So the Gasol brothers came out of the Barcelona Academy, the same one that's the soccer academy. So they identified these two tall brothers. They made them basketball players from a young age. They become really very skilled. They hop over to the NBA. And when you start developing 8-year-olds the way they develop soccer players, we're going to have more and more Europeans at the NBA level. It's not going to be just the American sport anymore. And that's what we have with soccer. With soccer, if you're lucky enough to be in a good Pee-wee league, if you're lucky enough that you have a good coach at the high school level, maybe you get on to a good club, college, all of this bits of training are all different. They're disparate. They may not fit your style. You're not getting developed consistently. This is from 8 years old really all the way up to the U23 semi-pro team. It's the same curriculum. If you miss a day, it's like missing a day of school. You figure out what you need to do to keep up with the rest of the group. If you're a really good 8-year-old, you may want to play on the 10-year-olds team. The coaches don't care if you lose that tournament in Tupelo or whatever, because all they're trying to do is develop talent. And if you're a 10-year-old, you may have to go down and play with the 8-year-olds and vice versa. They don't care. All they want is development. And it drills down to the style of play. If you want to really win, you know, as a soccer player, if you got a bunch of 10-year-olds, you put an athlete in goal and an athlete up top. The goalie gets the ball, they boot it 50 yards to the forward. Now he's 1v1 potentially with a 50-50 shot of scoring a goal, and 9 other kids never touch the ball.
Yeah, I played a lot of games like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can win games that way, but you don't develop the other 9 kids. So this is just different.
What is it you really care about? You know, you're trying to develop talent and in a modern and innovative way. And is that something you think you get at Southern States?
It's just the European model. I mean, it may not be any different than what the average kid gets in Madrid or London, but it's novel here. And for that reason, it's developing players at a super high rate, and it's, you know, the style of play plays into that. You know, it's the Barcelona tiki-taka style where you know, you do short passes. That's a developmental style, and you know, all these things, are smart about it. I mean, I feel super grateful that my kids stumbled upon this.
Well, I think it's so, you know, I got to go to one of the Stars games this summer, and I think it's really important just for developing young men. Like if I'd have had a club like that to come back to when I'm at home from college, I would have gotten in less trouble. I'm curious what my life would have looked like, you know. No regrets, but like you have that kind of structure. You can go train, you go eat breakfast and lunch with the team. It's positivity. You know, I can't go out Friday night. I got a game Saturday. I can't go out tonight because I'm training tomorrow. Like, that's huge. That's life-changing. So I think what they're doing is really awesome. And I love that soccer is a bigger deal now, because when I was Mateo's age, I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Playing kickball? Like, people really still didn't understand it. So it's really awesome. But I want to get into a little more medicine, but I want to play a game.
Yeah.
And this is called Science or Some Guy. When Jamie's going to read you some quotes, and we want you to guess whether it was science or just some guy who said it. So are you down for that?
Absolutely.
After this, Jamie's Science or Some Guy. And we're here with John Neal. Can I get an interview, please, sir?
No.
Fair enough.
Science or some guy?
Say it with us. Science or some guy.
Yes. You have to determine whether someone said this or science said this. And if you want to give some explanation, that would be nice too. Let's go ahead and get this party started, shall we? Myocarditis is the irrational fear of clowns.
No, I think it's when you got mayonnaise in your heart. Is that science or some guy?
That's super some guy.
The Omicron variant spreads more easily than the original virus that causes COVID-19 and the Delta variant.
Science.
It's true.
Can I expound?
Yeah, sure.
So the Delta variant was about 4 times more infectious, as well as being more severe than the original that we got out of Wuhan. And this is about twice more infective and not quite as severe as the Delta. So it's about 10 times as infectious as the original one, about the same order as smallpox, which is a very infectious disease.
Wow.
Yeah, that's scary.
All right, moving on.
No.
Healthy young people don't need the vaccine.
Some guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So not only do young people get severely ill from this and potentially die, but the other piece to bear in mind on this is it's not so much about your individual consequence of getting this illness. In the case of the Omicron variant, you also have to calculate the 6 to 9 other people you're close to that you're willing to give this to. Because statistically speaking, what we call the R naught, or the how many people get infected per one person infected, 6 to 9 others close contacts of yours will also get this. So that's a big reason why kids should get the vaccine. In addition to, it's better for them to get the antibodies from the vaccine than it is from natural infection. There's consequences associated with it, including myocarditis.
Right. Which myocarditis is a heart issue, correct?
Yeah, so anytime you have an itis at the end, it's inflammation. Myo, in this case, is referring to the myocardium of the heart, the muscles of the heart. And it's an inflammation that can occur, especially in young, healthy people after getting this infection. Way more common after infection than after vaccine. It can be induced by vaccine as well, but at a much lower rate than if you were to get the native infection. And oh, by the way, everybody that's gotten it from vaccine has survived it with minimal consequence.
Right. So it's riskier to not be vaccinated versus being vaccinated.
Super science.
Okay. Very sciencey, scientific. What's next, Jamie?
People infected with the Omicron virus can present symptoms similar to previous variants.
Science.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the course of illness is pretty much the same in terms of these variants. You know, it's kind of these non-specific upper respiratory type things with the unique aspect of losing your sense of taste and smell that's associated with this. And, you know, they've all been just slightly a bit different in terms of the areas that have been more severe. The reason why we think this Omicron is not causing as many people to get severely ill is a combination of the fact that probably a lot of people have already gotten some antibodies against us from natural infection, whether they know it or not. And also, we don't think it latches on to the lung tissue as aggressively as Delta did. So it's more in the upper respiratory as opposed to the lower respiratory where it can cause some more damage.
Right.
The COVID-19 vaccine makes you a better dancer.
That's some guy.
I don't know. I had it. I was vaccinated, and I mean, my hips are much looser. So I don't know. That could be. Could it be science?
Look, we can do the study right now. If we have some
I've seen them on TikTok.
Yeah.
All right. If I catch the Omicron virus now, I can get 6-pack abs just in time for spring break.
Oh, I so wish. That is some guy.
Yeah. So to be clear, don't catch Omicron thinking you're going to get 6-pack abs. That's not related. It would be cool if that worked, though.
Scientists are working to determine how well existing treatments for COVID-19 work.
Absolutely science.
Yeah, this seems like it's quite the undertaking. Like, what from just your experience, what are you doing? like day to day to get this done? Because I know that's your life, man.
Yeah, so medicine has different components to it. So there are clinical doctors that see patients, treat patients, and there are physician scientists. Those are at the bedside, at the lab side normally, and they're trying to find new treatments. They're trying to figure out what's going on with virology, and there's combinations of those doctors. And over the course of this pandemic, we've had like monoclonal antibodies that have come out. That's the kind of messages like President Trump got when he got ill. What we've determined, because these scientists are continually looking at what's happening, is the first round of monoclonal antibodies don't really work on this particular variant, and there's another monoclonal antibody, soturvimab, say that twice at least, but that works, whereas the other, the bamlanivimab and the Regeneron don't work against this variant. So people are constantly having to study this to try to figure out what's what and who's who. And there's a whole group of people that's their life.
Yeah.
And it's great that we have them out there. It's great that we have enough money in this country to fund that type of research. It's really what's going to help us be ready for the next round.
It feels like really fancy whack-a-mole, like it's just, there's so many factors, so yeah, that's huge respect, seriously.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Horseworms are what's really gonna get you.
I don't even know what to say that. I think that's got to be some dude.
Yeah, no way, that's science.
Omicron infection generally causes less severe disease than infection with prior variants.
That's science, especially compared to the variant that came before it, the Delta variant. It tends to be a little less severe.
Correct.
Nice.
COVID is just the new flu.
Well, that's some guy. I get where you're going with this. But it is, in a way, very much related to the influenza virus. So the influenza virus is probably the most evolved replicating machine that there is out there. It's found the sweet spot to coexist with its human host. So it's an RNA virus similar to COVID's coronavirus, which means that these things don't do anything on their own. They can't survive on their own. They're essentially parasitic. They don't breathe. They don't metabolize. They don't have waste products. All they can do is latch onto a host, which will replicate them. That's it. And in that way, the coronavirus is similar to influenza. And influenza has evolved over time to be able to replicate itself in us, but not kill us off at such rates that it kills itself off, like the first SARS did and then the subsequent MERS did. So in that way, COVID seems to be going down the path of influenza and will probably stay with us for the rest of our coexistence.
Right. Wow. That's wild to think about, for sure.
The N95 mask makes you 95% sexier.
Well, I think that's true. That's some science, man. I wear that all day. That's some science.
Actually, that's correct.
That is correct.
We made that correct.
I'm going to try this out. I'm going to put on my KN95. Let's see.
All right, let's see.
Let's see how extra sexy this goes. Yeah. I got my own addition to this thing, a mask extender.
Be careful. It's a family show, sir.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the eyes.
That's right. I would say even 96 to 97.
Okay.
More than 95.
Okay.
So technically we were wrong. But yeah, give us another correct. That's science.
All right. Current vaccines are expected to protect against severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths due to infection with the Omicron variant.
Absolute science.
Yeah. So you were in charge of vaccine trials, and how did that? I feel like people know that, but I don't know the details. What's that like, being in charge of that, or being associated with it at all? Like, what did you do in developing vaccines?
Yeah, like my little boy Henry said, it was exciting. So it was really neat to be able to do that. So clinical research, to be able to do that in a place like Hattiesburg is really very unique. Usually this type of stuff occurs at academic medical centers, and it's really underrepresented in communities like us, and that's not good for science. You need to be able to do trials in places where people live. So at the Haysbert Clinic, we have a primary care clinical research arm. I'm the principal investigator for it. And we've been doing studies, and people aren't really excited about them, and we're kind of off in our little world doing a melanoma study there and a COPD study there. And COVID comes out, and we apply for and get the opportunity to participate in the Moderna trial. And that was like nothing I've ever seen before. So whereas we would typically reach out to people and say, hey, come join this trial, we think it'd be good for you and you're a good candidate for it, people were beating down our doors and calling from all over the place. We're the only Moderna clinical trial site in the state, so people were coming from Tennessee, people were coming from the coast, people were moving away and still coming back for the trial. I mean, it was unbelievable. Wow. Super exciting, and it was cool to be able to offer that to the community. So the group of people that participated, the ones that were in the placebo arm, got the trial vaccine, so they got it super early. They got to see what the effects were, so we monitored their labs, and that was really cool. From a science standpoint, if you're going to nerd out about that, that was really cool.
And being, I feel like you're such a valuable resource to this area. Like, you saw the vaccine being like, you can trust it, right? Like after going through those trials and seeing like the side effects and like really putting a magnifying glass on it, like I'm putting it under a microscope, literally, like you can trust the vaccine because you saw how the sausage was made, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you participate in a clinical trial as a principal investigator, all the major adverse events that occur throughout the trial anywhere are sent to the PIs so that we can stay on top of what's going on and make decisions about the trial participants. So every single major adverse event that has occurred with this vaccine, I have read every single one of those. And that's unique access to be able to have. And once you are able to do that, you can make an educated assessment of whether this is safe for your personal trial participants. And I can say with certainty, more than really anything else that I've studied, because I haven't had access to this type of information, I feel confident in this product.
That's good. It's good to know.
Awesome.
I believe you.
Thank you, man.
You don't have to get the vaccine if you know the Konami code.
That's got to be some guy.
What is the Konami code?
It's up, up, down, down, left, right, BA.
Select star, right?
Yeah, I mean, no.
So you said some guy or science?
That's some guy.
Dude, you're batting 1,000. You must be an expert or something.
Even if only a small percentage of people with Omicron infection need hospitalization, the large volume of cases can overwhelm the healthcare system.
Definitely science. So the fact of the matter is, because it's so infectious, this variant is likely going to infect every single person that has not gotten some antibodies against this. So you're probably not going to be able to escape this, as infectious as it is. So if you have enough people that get it, even though the rate of severity may be less, there's going to be enough people infected that they will wind up having to get extra care in the hospital and may wind up needing ventilation and ICU support. So it's just a numbers game.
That's something too that I've just never experienced anything like that. And I've never thought about the healthcare system as a whole before this, you know, and that's something I think is on a lot of people's minds. You know?
Yeah, to be honest, I never looked at it like that either. I never looked at us as a collective workforce, and could that be an exhaustible resource? I never in a million years would have thought about that.
Yeah, man, it's wild.
If you've ever been to the men's room in Nick's ice house, you're COVID immune.
You probably have some immunity against some things, but not COVID, so that's some guy.
Yeah. That's believable, though. You know, I could see how that we played this game. We're being a little ornery, but like there is some information out there that sounds believable, and you want to believe it. But I think it's important to, you know, like we said, put it under a microscope and really, it's okay to admit if you don't know if you don't know about it. You know, so
yeah. I mean, truth is hard to get to in any aspect. So I think if you're going down the pathway of trying to uncover truth, it's going to be a circuitous pathway. The question is how are you going to assess truth? So a lot of these things that people wind up believing in have some plausibility. We call that biologic plausibility. It makes some sense. If this, then that, based on what we know. And in order to get at the most factual information, you have to look at it with the scientific process in mind, which is, okay, this trial showed this, but it was in this subgroup. It was an observational trial, not a randomized controlled trial. We need to do this, this, and that. So if you're willing to wait it out, you'll get to more truth, more truthfulness, if you will. But the pathway in which you go down seeking the truth matters. And if it's just going to be the quickest, easiest resource, and this makes sense to me, there's a chance you could be wrong.
Right. Well, and people are nowadays, they're just looking for some relief. So the easiest answer gives me a little bit of comfort and doesn't necessarily mean that's what's best. You know, we say that all the time. It's about what's best, not easiest, you know. So that's always difficult to get to. And it's kind of, you know, you're going like the path of most resistance, you know, which human nature kind of, you know, that's against human nature in some ways. So I understand why people struggle with it. So you're such a great resource, and we're so happy that you came and hung out with two guys, man. And we really appreciate all the work you're doing. And we've said too, man, you see somebody who works in the medical field, give them like an Air 5 or something, man. We appreciate the work you're doing. So
it was my pleasure. This was a lot of fun.
Man, this is a good time. If you want to check out and stay up to date, obviously go to cdc.gov, all those. But you can see Hattiesburg Clinic, Forest General's hospital's social media website. All those links are in the description below. This has been a great time, and yeah, an incredible episode. Jamie, can you play us out, please?
Sure. Rouhbakhsh.
Hey, seriously, thanks.
Yeah, man.
This is really great.
Science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check.
N95 makes you
Check
sexy.
those facts.
Put on a mask.
Yeah. N95 mask make you sexier. N95 mask makes you sexier.
Did a clinical trial right here on that.
It's fact now, bro.
After the show, we banter.